Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Engadget Podcast, brought to you by Verizon's Powerful Answers, because the world's biggest challenges deserve even bigger solutions. This week, we've got Joseph Volpe sitting in the middle chair.
I'm the prettiest.
He is actually not the prettiest because Terrence O'Brien is next to him with a beautiful beard.
But
It's hard to
did
miss.
a beard thing today because I'm lazy too.
And I'm, of course, Ben
but
Gilbert.
It's
Hi,
not
everybody.
lazy.
Hello, Internet. So we got a lot to talk about today, so I want
we?
to really get to it as fast as possible.
Why?
Okay,
Why do you
go.
want to just
No,
dive right in?
we're out of CES. We're into the actual news year. Things are a little bit more normal. Things are a
mean,
little bit calmer.
I kind of wanted
nice.
to ask you if you had any really difficult questions for Verizon since they have such powerful answers. Is there anything pressing that you think Verizon will be able? Are they like the new jelly?
I'm trying to think if they could maybe how do you solve malaria in Africa is what I would ask, and maybe they would have a powerful solution for that. I bet they do.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure they're working on that right
I
now.
hope so.
Those pre-roll ads certainly indicate as such.
Good. Well, now that we're done antagonizing the advertisers,
I was just.
Why wouldn't we? I mean, that's the most fun part about having sponsors is antagonizing
They
them.
don't pay me, so I have questions for their powerful answers. Will a Big Mac still taste like a Big Mac in space?
I think the answer is no. No, it will not. It'll taste like a space Big Mac,
Well,
as evidenced
I'm sorry.
by most space ice cream.
Bon Gilbert, I was asking Verizon for the powerful answers. I'm not aware if you can provide those.
I'm just going to throw it
Excuse
out there.
me.
I don't think anybody wants to eat a freeze-dried Big Mac anyway. That sounds like an awful, awful idea.
It does.
Are they not already some form of freeze
I
dried
mean, I'm sure they
or
were at some point.
pre-baked or
but-
But what about
something
like
nightmarish?
astronaut ice cream that's like Big Mac flavor? So it looks like Cocoa
That's
Puffs.
even more disturbing.
What is with this? So this is a complete. I'm sorry that this is an immediate tangent, but there's Oreos now that are cookie dough flavored.
Oh no,
saw
I
that
was
this
all
morning.
over that this morning, and Rice Krispie treat flavor, which
That's disgusting.
doesn't seem to be so popular, but more accurately reflects the actual taste.
I can't do it. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there in the world who are into that, but it just immediately in my mind I start thinking of all the gross the
Why
Why
vat
not
of
just-
chemicals that has
why
gone
not
into
just eat
creating
cookie
that.
dough?
No,
That's
well,
right.
okay.
Like
Right.
cookie dough is
Yes.
delicious. Just eat cookie
Yes.
dough. Why do we need?
Daniel Cooper, one of our UK editors, immediately,
Mhm.
I put this out. I saw it on BuzzFeed, so I put it out on Twitter, being like, "Oh my god, I need it!" And he was like, "Please send that to me." Also, I hear raw cookie dough is amazing, but we don't have that in the UK. And he's
How do
never
you-
tried it? And I was
You
like,
just make it in your house.
"No,
with
you need,
eggs
you
and
need,
sugar."
No, you need to buy it. You need to buy it from Nestle or Pillsbury
How do they
and just
not
sit there
have?
and
He's told me this before, and I refuse to believe that. How can they not sell raw cookie dough in stores? How
they're
is that
not
a thing
as
that doesn't
barbaric
exist?
as we are when it comes to being
But they're just as
gluttons
lazy.
with yes, they. I mean, I won't refute that.
The fact
Have
that
you
they don't
met our
have
UK staff?
pre-made cookie dough that you can simply cut or break off and throw on a pan and cook.
Who cuts or breaks it off? You unwrap it and you gnaw
Well,
this
that's
it
what I'm
is-
saying. Theoretically, that's how
in
you're
a-
supposed to use
in
it.
an apartment in Bushwick.
I feel like that ends at the end of the end of college, and you're like, oh, I got to move on from the things where I'm
No,
When you
sitting in
stop
my
smoking
underwear
so much
wearing
pot,
cookie
you
dough.
stop
Right.
eating so much cookie
That
Right.
that is very true.
There's a
I'm sure
one-to-one
there's a
connection
direct
there.
link oh my God, their sales must just tank with the older demos, huh?
Yeah.
You're just actually making cookies at that
Yep.
point in your life.
When you become an adult and make your own cookie dough,
I'm still waiting
and
for
then you
that
get
day
high
to
and
come.
eat that.
So anyway,
So what's going on in the world of technology news?
I mean, we're starting with something that is kind of not technology news, right? We wrote about this NES cart, this Nintendo cart this week.
That's techie.
And since I'm leading this show, we're leading with all gaming stuff in your face, internet.
I believe the
And-
I believe the segment's called Game Boys and Girls. There's 3 hours in there.
That is
Why did
absolutely
we let you
in the notes.
do that?
Why? Because there's
Why did you let him edit the
there was-
notes?
This is what happens when Joseph edits the notes.
you actually didn't read the intro that I wrote, which is hysterical.
It's true. The intro that Joseph has for me is, I'm Ben Gilbert, and I'm kind of a dill bomb. That's a word Joseph invented because ... hashtag Planet Hillary. He's not paying me to say this. He actually just edited the script, so I'd read it live. He's also very gorgeous.
Okay, now you can go back to the game.
Anyway, so the game is Nintendo World Championship, and it's this game that is super rare because it wasn't a game, right?
No.
It was something that was used for Nintendo tournaments
Yeah,
in
right,
the
to
80s.
enable the competition,
Right. So it's little bits of different pieces of games, and it's
There's a time limit on
Well,
it,
it's-
right?
It's kind of like NES Remix, actually, that
Right,
we talked
it
about a
is.
few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's take it back for a moment. There were Nintendo challenges, like a actual competition.
Yes.
Traveling,
Yeah.
and that's an
Right, like
insane thing.
The plot of hit film The Wizard.
The Wizard,
Yeah.
which was
Right.
that movie effectively made me believe that Super
But,
Mario
that's
Brothers
based on
3
a
was
real thing, and that's a
transcendental
crazy thing.
experience. We're talking over each other because
Yeah, I
we're
know.
very
Excuse
excited.
me, guys.
You said
Excuse
NES,
me.
and we're like,
Jeez. So anyway, this game is it takes Super Mario Brothers Rad Racer, which is actually a super good game.
not
and
Ridge Racer.
not Ridge Racer,
Okay.
and Tetris, and it gives you like a little chunk of each to compete and play against each other. But there was like, I don't know, like a dozen or something. I'm ballparking, but there's not a
I
lot
thought
of
there
them.
was more than that. I thought it was like 100.
There's maybe like 100, but not. It's not a production run, right?
Yeah.
Like it's something that they shipped to like stores and whatever that were doing these tournaments. And so once in a while, like every year or every couple of years, one goes up on eBay and it fetches a stupid amount of money.
The last one was like almost 12,000,
Yeah,
right?
this was starting at 5,000. I
Yeah.
don't know what the bid is at this point, but it was going for a little bit less because the original label was torn off.
Yeah,
Right.
and
somebody
somebody wrote
scrolled Mario
Mario.
and ballpoint
It looks
pen
rough,
on it.
honestly. The cart looks super duper rough, and
It looks like it was dug out of a basement.
I would
Yeah.
not pay 5,000 for that. I'd be like, here's
I would
25.
not pay 5,000 for any game.
I mean, the truth of the matter is, you're paying for like.
Throw it out there.
I
I'm
don't
a
even know
little
what it,
OCD, so I might because I got obsessed.
I don't really get the want for this outside of the people who are like super hardcore
Yeah, it's a
archivists.
collector thing.
If you're that, that's cool. But like, this is a super junky copy, so I probably wouldn't. If I was like an archivist, I wouldn't want.
No, you wouldn't
this
want
one.
that, right?
Maybe
Unless
like a
you're an archivist
museum.
on a budget.
I just don't. I mean, this is really for like super crazy people.
5,000 is really budget.
Well,
for
I
it.
guess I can deal with the label being ripped off. I'll
I
put
like
up
your
with it.
I like your archivist voice.
That's my not too worried
I can
kind
pay
of poor
$4,000.
archivist. I guess I'll deal with it. I don't
It's
know.
gonna be okay.
So
I
you
don't know
could.
what that voice is.
Yeah, it's like a Muppet that's drowning on his own
Yeah.
phlegm.
You could, I believe, still bid on it right now. It is still on eBay, and it still looks rough. As of now, the current bid is $6,101.50. So it's
Or-
above the starting bid.
Or
So
you
people are
can-
putting money on it.
You can jump in and fund my Kickstarter for my project called Kickstart My Heart.
I think that's just a pair of electrodes that we just
Yeah.
put on you. And
Yeah, 'cause I'm
that's
pretty
not
icy.
really.
You're giving us money to electrocute you. So that's actually
Yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
do
okay
that.
with
I'll
that.
do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But
Do
I
that
don't think
for
you
free.
want that.
Nobody needs to pay.
No, I need no. They aren't paying you. They're paying me to kickstart my heart.
And then this
Same.
morning, in actual game news, in real sort of maybe more gamey news, there's a PlayStation thing that's being announced in
Is
a
that
few
really
weeks.
news, though? The announcement is that, hey, we've got this thing. Come to
Right.
an event at January 30th.
I mean, I think Ben and I both agree that it's more than probably likely to be the new PS Vita, the slim one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would put a steak dinner bet, $5 bet.
I don't want steak
Anybody want to put
anymore.
money on
No.
it because
I
it's
want-
gonna be.
Can you give me like 6 bags of maca root powder?
It's gonna
'Cause
be
very expensive.
it's gonna be the Japan only new Vita. It's got
Right.
no OLED screen.
Well,
it's got
no
a more
longer
better
Japan
battery
What are the
only
life.
odds
if it
you're
launches in the
Right.
UK.
What are
and
the
it's
odds
UK.
you're giving?
Don't use
What are the odds
numbers.
I'm giving on
I'm not
this?
good
Yeah,
with-
I'll take the bet possibly depending on what the odds are.
I don't know how that
Maca root,
affects this.
though.
This is why I don't bet anything.
Well, no, that's what you do, like 5-1 odds. So
Yeah,
this way,
that
I
sounds
put
good.
down $1, and if I'm right, I win $5.
Right.
See, that's how it works.
You want maca root.
But if I win, I only win $1?
No, you win $5 if you put down 5.
Can't we just bet $5?
No.
What?
No.
You're just complicating this,
I know.
Terrence.
No, he's
Uh,
actually that's actual betting is what he's talking
Yeah.
about.
So anyway, on
Also,
January
I'm looking
30th,
for a way to maximize how much money I can wring out.
And
understandably.
you're dipping into my Kickstarter to do it, and I don't
Exactly.
appreciate it.
But yeah, so this is probably Vita, the new
Right.
Vita. It could be Vita TV.
No, but
They
here's
called it the slimmest
but
PlayStation
the
device
Vita
ever
TV
being
is-
announced.
Is such like a made for Japan mini console.
Right.
Is it?
Right? Yeah, it is. It's made for them. It's made for their space restrictions. And I mean, hello, the PS4 is gigantic by the standards of their living spaces. And also, like, it doesn't really properly yet ape all of the functionality of a Vita with the touchscreen controls and whatnot. And,
Right.
and Matt Smith just put the review
Our
up.
review just went live today, yeah.
And it's kind of a lukewarm review, which is like, it's a great idea, but in practice, the library's not there yet.
There's a lot of
And
issues
the
because a lot of
controls-
those big games, like you just said, with
Right.
the touch
Gravity
stuff,
Rush,
like
my favorite game
Right.
in the world.
some of the biggest games on the Vita aren't playable on the Vita TV, and that
Yeah.
definitely, I think, makes it a more limited market. There's
And-
some
and-
cool stuff with streaming it from a PS4, but
But you can't do that yet.
right.
And
So
also, it's not compatible with the PS4 controller, which is what it needs.
It will
because of
be.
The touch
It will
pad.
be.
I was just
It
going
will
to say
be.
it's not. That seems...
The
That's
PS3
coming.
right
Yeah,
now,
that's definitely a
And-
thing that's
And
happening.
I can only assume, though, that they're also going to extend PlayStation Now to it at some point.
That would be
Yeah.
a fair assumption, I think.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
considering all those things, it seems insane to restrict it to Japan only. Like, it's going to come to the UK. It's
Right.
going to come to the
It seems
US
an
at some
inevitability.
point.
I think it
wouldn't
makes
be
more
shocked.
sense for the new Vita to come first.
Right.
That's all.
I don't
I
think
think
they
you're
want
right,
to
though, that-
confuse. I don't think they want to confuse the message, though. At least in the United States, where I mean, look, their priority is to get the numbers for PS4 up, right? Because
Sure.
that looks good from a marketing perspective.
And a new
taking down
Vita
Xbox.
is going to sell. It's going to be something that people will buy with their PlayStation 4, right?
Right.
Rather than a Vita TV where you have to like educate a whole new market
right.
and whatever.
And
it's
that
just
ties
it's
into
Vita.
the whole
I feel
remote.
like-
But it ties into the whole remote play aspect of the PS4. I mean, it just
Fair
goes
enough.
with the message. And look, they're like basically what, neck and neck right now with Microsoft.
They could even bundle them, maybe. That would be crazy.
Well, they have bundled them,
Right.
in the
I-
UK,
yeah.
right?
I think it
Is
was
the
like a
original
limited
bundle?
regional thing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, it seems like a no-brainer. But yeah, not really news though. Still, right? Like it's
Yeah.
us guessing at a lot of what's going to be educated guesses, but. And in kind of wrapping things up, Microsoft's financials, this financial season, so we
Oh,
get a bunch
God.
of really unexciting posts about
It's-
how much people have sold of this or that.
Yeah.
A lot of
It's-
those come
people
to you
have
from
lost
Terrence
or-
O'Brien because
I've been doing a lot less of those recently, which I'm super happy about.
I listened to eBay's financials call the other day, and
I'm
I
sure that
almost
was a blast.
actually died.
did you make popcorn with cayenne pepper just to like?
I drank
you know.
3 cups of tea during it. 3.
Well, what type of tea was it? Chamomile? Because I have a feeling you're
That
a
would put-
chamomile.
that he would-
You keep trying to push chamomile on me, and I've had enough.
Because I feel
frankly.
like
Chamomile
it'll
delicious.
depress you enough.
I like regular
That's how I
English
end my night
breakfast.
every night with a big cup of chamomile tea.
Oh, do you also put on your nightgown and your bonnet?
Maybe I do.
Jeez. But yeah, so Microsoft sold what 3 point. You wrote this 3.9.
3.9 million Xbox
3.8,
Ones,
3.9,
Yep.
right, yeah.
3.5 million Xbox 360s.
Which is crazy.
Still selling a lot of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
that's-
cheap,
that's-
and there's still a lot of games
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
People-
No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
people who want to buy a console and don't want to shell out $600 for a new one. They like 360 still has plenty of great games that are going to continue
Sure.
to come out for it. You might as well just do it. Why not?
I was honestly, so I was most interested in beyond the Xbox stuff, which is like good. I expect them to be selling well, and if they weren't, that'd be more crazy.
What, surfacing?
Surface.
Surfacing sells.
Actually selling?
Surfacing?
Well,
They're surfacing
here's
now
the thing,
above the red.
What? Having such a good time with that.
There is the caveat for that, though, in that they don't give actual sales numbers, just revenue.
Right.
Right.
So the Surface division, like, obviously sales have increased because the revenue has more than doubled from the last quarter, and it had, grown like almost 50% from
Right.
the
It was
quarter
like
before that.
47%, I think
Yeah,
you said.
it climbed 47% to 400 million last quarter, and now it's 863 million.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's a huge growth, but they're still not telling us how many Surfaces they're selling,
Right.
which I kind of want to know.
Yeah.
Like, that's... I mean, a figure we can extrapolate because most of that revenue has to come from hardware sales, and so if somebody wants to break out a calculator...
I can tell you where I've seen people adopting Surfaces. Last night at the gym when I was watching Modern Family on my phone, they were at a school like parent-teacher conference, and there were a couple parents in the scene that were typing. on
That's
the
just
touch
product
covers.
placement.
Yeah.
I
So
know,
where
that's
all
what
the-
I'm
That's where all the
saying.
sales are going.
Right.
Hollywood.
Right.
If you could.
Yeah.
Although, really, that wouldn't be revenue because they're probably paying them
Yeah,
to put
no,
them
it's
in the
very
Right.
true. I'm just saying sales. I don't know about the revenue.
Yeah. No, it's weird though because I expect that thing not to sell well.
Yeah, I think it
I'm
shocked
shocked
everybody.
that there was actual sales
Yeah,
there. Like
who knew?
right, like legitimately.
Maybe it's
actual
Carl
shocking.
Icon buying them all,
All of them?
Man,
so that no
every-
one
Just
else,
got a
so nobody else
warehouse.
has them.
Also, somebody I hear brought up on every single conference, like the financial calls, every one of them is like, let's address Carl Icahn because he's obviously an investor because
Yeah.
Carl Icahn. But yeah, it's just every time, and I'm like,
I found the best.
Spent a
image
lot of time
him
hearing about
when
him.
he was like attacking Light Squared, and there's
Light
just,
Squared?
like- oh yeah. Well, we won't get into that. That's
Okay.
all like Spectrum. Yeah.
It's
You know,
old news.
that's like it's way old news, and that's like mobile podcast stuff, and we're clearly
Not mobile.
Yeah, we're not.
we're definitely
mobile.
sitting at a table. We're not
We're
going
stationary.
anywhere. We're on
talking
a
about,
camera,
like,
so we're
different types
We
definitely
should do
going
an
paper
actual mobile
with,
podcast from a windowless van.
I like that.
And then we can pull up to random strangers on the street and invite them into the van.
To talk about Light Squared
yeah.
Spectrum.
We just want to talk. We just want to talk. Grab him. Just like that.
And I'll give everybody maca root.
Would you
oatmeal.
like a lollipop? If you come on our podcast, you can have a lollipop.
Always with the maca root agenda.
I just have to say, when you said that, all I could think of was Mr. Belvedere, because you've been dressing like Mr. Belvedere lately, and I just want you to do it for me. Do it into that camera. Say, Wesley. Just do it. Just really quick. Just do that. Come on.
No.
What?
I've literally also never watched that, so I have no idea.
No?
My whole perspective on that is the very small child
Yep.
Yeah.
whose name I can't remember. Emmanuel? No, Emmanuel?
Are you talking
Emmanuel
about
Lewis is
Webster?
Webster?
Webster, that's it.
Yeah,
There's
that's
a
a
show with
different
a kid named Emmanuel, though, in the same time period, like early 90s or
Yeah,
mid-90s.
I mean, maybe they did a crossover episode, but
I
other
have no idea. My only knowledge of Mr. Belvedere comes from Nick at Night commercials.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I know it's a thing because of that.
I mean, I don't remember the show, and the conceit sounds really strange. So I'd like
I
to
don't
go
even
back
know
and
what
see
it is,
those.
to be fair.
It's,
I just,
it's
like,
a
I know
British
it's
dude who
thing.
shows up to essentially be like a nanny.
Mm-hmm. He's a big fat
And
nanny.
he's a big fat nanny who wears sweater vests.
He's got a mustache.
I'm just saying, today you didn't wear a sweater vest, but
He usually wears a tie under his sweater
Yeah.
vest.
I never wear
And
sweater
the
vests.
youngest-
I actually don't own any,
Oh.
Joseph. So
No, I totally saw. Oh, it was a cardigan.
I'm sensing
There are a lot of
some
cardigans.
some
It's a
insecurity
cardigan.
about your sweater situation.
Yeah, what's
No.
going on
No.
there? Is it Christmas? No, it's not.
No.
It's January. I believe there's a rule about that.
I don't think there's anything Christmas. It's just a fair Isle sweater, buddy.
My gosh. Well, you know what? You know who I bet has some data on your online viewing habits? And
Probably
can
President Obama.
Probably President
probably
Obama, and he
President Obama.
probably
He
knows
does.
that you've definitely seen Mr. Belvedere and do image searches.
He
He's got
he
a
would know
direct
if I was
line.
full
Every
of crap.
fortnight. Yeah, he would know if you're full of crap. I'm gonna pull him,
Yeah.
or maybe I'll go to his third-party polling company
I mean,
and
he's
find
probably
out that
listening
he's
right now, to
proposed.
be fair. And is he in the chat?
I mean,
He is.
we
He is
def-
right now. What are the chances?
We definitely did say hashtag Planet Hillary, and so he has a lot of interest in that because he stole the presidency from her. So,
And
yeah.
he late last week, addressed America in a public address about NSA reform.
Yeah.
That was, man. So there was like 25 minutes of him at the beginning talking about the history of surveillance
Yeah.
and talking about how great these whistleblowers were in the 60s and 70s who brought to light the overreaching surveillance of the government. And then went on to say that he was going to reform some of the stuff in kind of not so reformy, not like really big, meaningful ways, at least in my
No,
perspective.
He basically said we're still going to collect your data, but if push comes to shove and like you guys get upset, we'll take it to a third-party company we haven't specified, or a third party. I shouldn't
Yeah,
say
a third party,
company,
right,
a third
right,
party.
I mean, here's the thing. Some of them are meaningful reforms, and some of them
Sure.
are important. Some of them.
Well, what do you think is meaningful from it?
I think the FISA court reforms and the
The FISA court is the secret court that decides whether or
Whether or
not
not
the
we
NSA
get
can
the-
spy
yeah.
on
You
somebody.
guys
they
are
have-
saying FISA too loudly. It's a secret court.
Sorry.
that they have to go there for every single request, and that is going to be a public advocate present to argue against it at every single
Right,
request.
a third
those,
party.
Those are important reforms. That's a big deal.
Sure.
The moving the
The
database to a
two-step-
third party
oh, yeah.
thing is a big deal. I just don't know if it's a good big deal.
I don't know that
sort of
that's-
thing.
I mean, is this a government regulated third party? Like who? What they didn't.
Right.
That sort of
Who's the
thing is
oversight? Exactly.
They're moving it out of the government's hands in theory to prevent abuse within the government. But
Does
what is
anyone
that third
actually
party
believe
we
that?
trust?
Right.
Like I don't
Exactly.
want that information in anybody's hands. Like,
Right.
I don't want AT&T to be looking over it.
No.
I don't want Verizon to be looking over
They
it.
should-
I think
but they would have powerful answers if you were to pull them in
It's
court.
true.
I mean, I think that the bigger issue is that that oversight isn't there, and that somebody is holding onto that data. And if somebody's holding onto that data, period, it exists to be broken into, right?
Right,
like
but-
that exists, period, is a problem.
At the end of the day, I just don't believe that a government that has to absolutely conduct espionage, right, for surveillance purposes, even with these public checks and balances that they're now talking about reforming. I don't think there's anything that's ever really going to stop them from searching for that data
Sure.
if they need to. We won't find out about it, or
Yeah.
somebody else will blow the whistle again. But I honestly believe that they can tap anything they want. And an interesting thing I found was a lot of the times they were talking about with all these leaks coming out, right? They could go ahead and collect, cell phone data and location data and text messaging overseas from foreign targets, right?
Sure.
Targets of interest,
Right.
And that the system would automatically filter out Americans that happen to be caught in those spy traps, whatever you want to call them.
But those systems.
But what's to stop them from saying? Because it was very clear that they were allowing the UK spy agency to go through their database and pull information
Yeah,
about
sure.
UK citizens. So what's to stop the US from saying, well, we can't dip into our own data, supposedly. We'll just dip into yours.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what they're allowing other allies
Right.
to do.
I completely agree.
There are no. I don't believe in a checks and balances for any of this surveillance stuff that goes on.
I mean, the thing is that the checks and balances that exist need to be much more public, and that's what we're not seeing enough of. And Obama said, they're going to move to make as much of this information about the policies and the stuff that they're implementing public knowledge and declassify it. But we all know that so little of that is going to actually
Right.
be declassified.
Right.
And they can declassify and redact.
Yeah, and what they do
entire
declassify
volumes
is
of
going to be
it.
primarily just black ink.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, the one thing one of the things he didn't address though, and Edward Snowden actually addressed it during one of the few meaningful questions that Edward Snowden actually addressed
was a
during his
model.
Q&A.
He didn't ask me anything this week, right? He didn't ask me anything. Was it a Reddit
He did
thing?
just,
or-
no,
Yeah,
it wasn't a Reddit.
yeah, it
thing.
wasn't Reddit.
It was just a Q&A yesterday on his own site, and it was largely gibberish
Nothing.
and not. He basically didn't address any real meaningful questions that people had for him.
Was he?
They asked him the only questions he chose to answer were like his opinions on things. And look, I'm whistleblower. I don't care what your opinions of him are. Nobody cares what your opinions are about a lot of these things because you're not an expert. You're a guy who worked inside things. So
He was a consultant.
yeah,
right?
like
Right,
you're
right.
you're not a policy expert. So I don't really
People
get
care about the things he can expose, not so much about how he feels about them.
Yeah, and that's what most of
Sure.
it was. But the one thing he did address is the whistleblower protection laws have a really gaping hole in them,
Sure.
which is it only protects employees. So Edward Snowden is not protected under America's whistleblower laws because he was a contractor. He was a consultant.
Right.
So that's why he can still go to jail,
That's a really stupid loophole, too.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And you would hope that would have been addressed during it, but it
Right.
was not. It
Yeah.
was a very unfortunate thing.
But I think so. Some of the ways, though, I think that we'll get around the government doing this stuff is the people who actually collect this information, whether it be Google or Microsoft or Apple or whatever, will be forced by their customers to be more
Yeah,
careful,
but-
more secure, and move this stuff off.
The consent,
Sure.
no, but see, the consensus there. So Microsoft has sort of broken away from the rest of the American tech industry that trades in user data for
Sure.
services, and they're saying that they will host foreign user data, any sort of foreign customers, their data offshore, whether it be localized to the country that they're from or wherever. It was
I mean,
sort
they have a lot
vague.
of my data through my Xbox,
Right.
just to be clear.
Right.
Like, my Xbox account has a credit card attached to it. It has Social Security. It has
But you're an
my phone
American
number.
user, so you wouldn't be
right.
applicable for
And
this.
so-
Your
Right.
data still gets stored here.
Right. The problem with this thinking is because Google is way against it, and I think that sort of other major tech companies are not in favor of this because there's a huge cost, right, for infrastructure. You got to
Yep.
build out and maintain these servers, and you have to come under whatever tax requirements are in
Sure.
foreign countries and the laws that govern it, which is supposedly the positive, right? So that the idea is that the U.S. can't just say, the NSA can't just say, oh, we can dip into that data because now it's governed by a different country. But Google's saying, well, we don't want to comply with this, and because of that, we won't be able to offer our services to, not citizens, but foreign users around the world. And
Sure.
Brazil actually wants to put an amendment in to their law. It's called Marco Civil, where they require all Brazilian user data by foreign online services companies to be stored in Brazil itself. Right. This thing hasn't been passed, but it's something that
That
the
seems
Prime
like
Minister
against
is
the
pushing.
entire fundamental concept of the internet.
Right.
Like
and that's
of,
what people
of data
right.
storage and
Right.
of
I mean, it's not against
distributed computing and
Right.
all these other
concept of it
things.
by nature. I mean, it's actually better for those users if that data is stored in Brazil because then it's closer to them. And as much as you may not think about it, being physically closer means better, faster service.
Sure.
That's
That is
why
sure.
Google has nodes everywhere. They have small data centers
Right.
all over the country, not just these big hulking things. But I mean, the bigger problem with that is, the United States isn't the only government that spies and
Right.
collects data.
Exactly.
And look, I'm not super happy with all of the reforms that Obama has proposed. I'm not super happy with how the NSA has behaved themselves with this data collection. But man, do I trust the NSA and Obama more than I trust Putin and Russia
Sure.
or pretty much any South American nation. I mean, there's so much corruption and so much going on
Right.
that doesn't necessarily seem like a great solution unless your solution is literally offshore in a barge data center that is governed only by international law in the middle of the
Right.
ocean.
Which
There is-
Google could do.
Google is actually maybe preparing that with creepy
Well, no,
floating
they
barges.
They said it was a showcase.
no, yeah,
so
no, I'm just being a jerk.
For me, it's my new album.
There's still plenty of room for abuse there, and it doesn't necessarily seem like it's going to be the silver bullet to cure things. And I don't know how much better people are going to feel about it. It's like, oh, we move it from one abusive government
right,
to
exactly, to another,
one.
right.
Yeah,
That's less regulated. And the other thing too is that only these tech companies with incredibly deep pockets can shoulder the burden of that cost.
Oh yeah,
You know what
it's
I mean?
only Google,
Sure,
it's
sure.
only Microsoft. Companies like Dropbox, they're
Right.
screwed.
No.
Mm.
Exactly.
And this is, I can't hard transition from NSA to Beats. I just want you to talk to me about Beats audio.
Oh, come on.
I can't do it. I don't want to.
What did I write
wanna
there?
do
You
it.
read that, what I wrote. You read it. You read it.
I'm not.
Bonjour
I can't.
Bear.
I'm gonna Beats you in the face with my hands on with Beats music by Dre, O, and Apple Rumor Hogwash.
Yeah.
That's an entire category, and what I really want is
I really
look,
just wanted to throw this microphone over and walk out of the room.
I'm done. Look, the situation is I know that Beats by Dre is a thing.
It is.
I know that Dr. Dre is involved.
Yes.
I know they launched a streaming music service this week.
Yep.
What in the hell
And
does it
also-
do? What is interesting about
Trent
this
Reznor was
beyond?
involved too.
Can I
That's
just?
also
Oh,
cool.
I'm so interested now. He
I
was
like
on my.
both of those
he was on
people,
my
so-
wall growing up. Next to Fiona. Lots
And
of Fiona
Alanis,
and
probably
Trent.
Alanis.
There was
Yeah.
no. Actually, there was no Alanis on my wall.
That is
no,
legitimately shocking.
Just
I'm a
Björk,
little-
Björk, Fiona, and Trent.
And Kraftwerk, maybe?
Nah.
No.
No.
No, I didn't see him having craft work on
Okay.
his
No.
wall during high
I
school.
mean, I enjoyed, but wasn't.
Anyway, so what is why? So I have Spotify.
Okay.
I don't want to pay for another music streaming service.
Okay.
Why do I care about this?
I mean, if you
Should I care about
And
this?
why do
if
the
you were-
kids wear these Beats by Dre
Well, they're garish.
peripherals?
Yeah, because
They stand out. They got style.
I don't like.
Ask Joe
No,
Policino
I think
about
it's.
it.
I think the word is steez. I got steez. Don't.
We all look like we're 40 now.
Terrence just
Thanks. Thank you for
slammed his head
that.
on the microphone.
So yeah, please.
I read it on
enlighten
Urban
me.
Dictionary.
I mean, if you
okay?
already have a Spotify account and you're happy with it, you shouldn't care.
You
It's-
shouldn't-
It's just that straightforward.
Fantastic.
But do you think they have like a really insane marketing blitz behind this, right? And so
Yeah,
I think
they're-
that's what the fear is versus Spotify.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: is they're positioning themselves as offering something relatively unique in that it's.
How do you make streaming music unique, Terrence?
Yeah, I mean, they do succeed. Their whole push is that it's about the emotional connection that we've lost.
Oh, right. There's like a sentence it writes for you, right? What's that
Yeah.
called?
It's called The Sentence.
Oh.
You know what the emotional
It's
connection
literally
was?
Mad Libs, but with like a limited selection of things, and then it generates a playlist based on that. And
I'm
here's-
sorry, album cover art was the emotional connection, and we lost that
Well, I mean,
when
no,
we transitioned to digital.
Their
okay?
whole thing
Isn't
is
music the emotional connection?
Well, yes and no, but here's the thing:
Yeah,
is
but you
they,
formed the bond with the physical product because you were like, oh,
there,
wow,
cer-
I'm
there
gonna
certainly
stare
is something to
obsessively
be
at this
said
cover.
for that. Like there is, I'm a different listener. I feel differently about new artists and new music than I used to because
Sure.
I don't go to Other Music every Tuesday, drop $120 on
Remember?
CDs.
That's a record store in New York City,
Yeah,
by the
and
way.
it's one of the most amazing record stores
With
in the world.
obscure records,
Yeah.
I should say albums, not records. Records
But
are just standalone tracks.
I used to go down there every Tuesday, New Music Tuesday. I'd buy at least 2, probably 3 or 4 CDs every week, and I would hop on the train and the boat, and I would listen to new CDs
Yes.
on my Discman, and it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Also,
There's an emotional experience to that. It's a visceral, physical thing.
Sure.
And when you made the transition to Spotify and iTunes and all that, you absolutely lost that. It is a very different thing for me listening to music now. I don't get like,
Well-
I can't wait to get down. Like I don't leave work now to go get an album the day it comes out.
Right.
No, but we're also forgetting, right? So that the interface that you're getting digital music on is essentially a screen that allows you to multitask and pull in all sorts of different information. And we weren't doing that when we were
No, you
popping
were
in
focused.
CDs or cassettes or vinyl, whatever age you were.
Sure.
You had a physical product in your hand that you were focusing on.
Yeah,
And
this
that was
seems like
usually
the
it.
tale of all media that we consume, though, right?
No, it
like
is
the
to
same
an
thing goes
extent.
for games I play. The same thing goes
Right,
for
but
whatever
the
else.
screen,
It
the
is, but I'd
screen
argue-
changes everything because it distracts you.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd argue, at least for me personally, music was a much more visceral, emotional thing than video games ever could be. And then
I agree with you on
and
that.
movies were too. Especially if and I was a film student before I. decided to
Were
do
you in
this.
film studies or like you wanted to be a director? Please
I
don't
was,
say film studies.
I was in cinema studies because that's what I had to do, but I would have liked to have directed or been a cinematographer. That was my
Okay.
goal.
Okay, so you're basically Abed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ahmed?
From Community. Oh my God! Don't
Oh,
even look at me
jeez.
right now. Dan Harmon's back.
Oh.
But like music was a mobile thing. It was something that you could do whenever movies weren't that, and I suppose video games were, but I didn't.
I have a different connection with
Yeah,
them
you
than
have a different
do.
connection,
Right.
but like I didn't own a Game
Sure.
Boy. It wasn't like
What?
What?
no, I didn't.
I
What?
had that as soon as it came out.
Yeah, sorry.
I had a conniption.
I
fit
still
to get
have my
parents
Game
to
Boy,
buy it. So do
you
I.
monster.
So
So,
did my
but like
friend.
we've
Yeah.
lost that, and I was talking to somebody from Beats, and
Was it Dr. Dre?
no,
It wasn't Dr. Dre.
and they
Would he be able to have an intelligent discourse with you about his own service? or
I'm sure
no?
he could. He's a music producer.
I don't know actually. I was supposed to interview him once, and he stormed out of the room.
Oh,
Why? What were you wearing?
Nothing. He just decided he didn't feel
You
like
weren't
doing
wearing
the
anything.
interviews.
See, that's the
That was
problem,
the problem.
Terrence.
You didn't
It's
shout California
offensive.
love at him and like pound your chest or something.
What does
and
that
he was
mean?
like, "What?" and
Why
left.
would you say that?
I won't lie. Also,
He's from California.
as
Yes.
much as I was upset about that, I was also kind of relieved because it was like my second celebrity interview I'd ever done, and the previous one was Slash.
He's
which-
very, very communicative.
Yeah, which was actually a really great
Yeah.
interview. It was really fun. But Dr. Dre is more important to me musically.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Slash was done over the phone, whereas Dr. Dre was in person.
Yeah.
So like literally I was getting up there like panicked, like, oh my God.
What
Also,
am I gonna do?
he's so big.
Yeah.
He's a big
you don't
dude.
realize
He's
that.
jacked.
until
No.
I was like, wow.
You're also a very small
I am
gentleman.
also a very small person.
You're
I'm not-
I would
I'm not
say
getting
I would
past
say
that.
compact. I wouldn't say small. It's more polite, Ben.
Oh yeah.
I just want to say my second ever celebrity interview was when I shared an elevator with Sarah Jessica Parker at HBO, and I stared at the back of her head and I talked to her in my mind.
Such a creep. Such a tremendous creep. What is wrong with you?
It went really well.
And then
as
you
far
tapped
as
her
I
on the
was
shoulder and
concerned.
said, "I'm going to have you live in my house." And then she ran from the elevator.
I would never live in my house.
I'm going
with
to have
her.
you live.
I would live in her house, which she moved in my old neighborhood 2 months before I was leaving. What?
Darn it. Darn it.
I know. I could have
Man,
I could have
Shucks.
helped her kids get to school.
No.
See, we've already gone another full step of creepy directly into her shelter.
I don't own a van. I would rent one.
It's a much more economically sound choice, in
I
fairness.
thought so. But I mean, so you fill out these Mad Libs.
Okay, well, let's take a quick step back. So,
Sure. Please.
And they described using iTunes and Spotify and all these things as like using Excel.
Okay.
And I was like, that's actually super accurate. Like, it looks like Excel. It feels like Excel.
Well, I would say
It's-
Spotify looks like Excel for now. Wouldn't you agree, Terrence?
Well, yes. There's
Whispers, whispers.
Some
whispers,
polish coming there.
whispers,
Oh, right. Yes.
whispers.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. Maybe we don't know. I don't know. We might know. I don't know.
Spotify's getting a redesign,
Yeah.
is what they're
Maybe.
saying.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
That's
what
gonna
we were
happen.
saying. We weren't really saying.
I think it's in
anything.
March.
I'm not really
I think so.
sure.
That's what the
Something like
internet
I know.
told
What
me.
do you know?
That's
I
what the
don't know.
internet-
We don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Maybe we know.
for now,
a little bird told us.
Yeah.
Beats is pretty non-Excel-y, though.
No,
Is it
it's
prettier, more
it's-
organic?
I don't know if I'd say more organic, but it looks a lot less like a piece of office software. Like
Okay.
it doesn't look like a piece of part of a productivity suite, and they try to get around, making you search for stuff as much as humanly possible, so that you're not. Which
I
well,
hate recommendation.
well,
engines.
here's the
Like,
thing.
I have specific moods. This morning,
Well, no, but here's
it
the
was a
thing.
kind of an Edith Piaf morning, and
Well-
I immediately downloaded that on Spotify before I got on the subway.
Okay, but listen, you can still do that. It's not like there isn't a search or browse function.
So
Right.
what do I
Like,
write in the
it's
Mad
still
Libs?
there.
Like, I want to be a street rat performer, abuse, no eyebrows, draw them on, and it'll be like, oh, you want Edith Piaf? Alcoholism. I
Yeah.
forgot to add that.
I thought
in.
that was going to go to like klezmer
But like,
music or
more or less, like that's the idea. Like so, there's
Circus
there's
music.
The just for you section is like the first part you go to, and unfortunately, sort of in my brief time with it, and it's already expired. I can't play with it anymore. So
Well, you get a free week because they went down. Actually,
Yeah,
they
oh,
they
that's
beat.
true.
I mean,
so if you
shouldn't they
sign up
just-
now, you get an extra free week.
Well,
or
I mean,
They
something.
just
I-
give you like unlimited service so you can test it out
Well, I
and
mean,
really
for
understand
it-
long term.
for a period of time,
I
Yeah,
would say more
it's
than
limited.
a week.
I'm pretty sure that would violate certain ethical guidelines for being a journalist. It would constitute a gift from a.
Oh no,
No, if
I
they
think
give
he
it
means
to-
for customers. I don't think he means just for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I
In
mean,
general.
Yeah, I think I don't
oh,
really.
like 7 days.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
no.
think that's enough.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. So yeah, I didn't get to see much of what it's going to learn about me based on my listening habits,
Sure.
which is the just for you section. Like it's supposed to be not just recommendations, but based on your listening habits. And eventually, there's been talk about like building in location awareness, so it knows when you're at work, when you're at the gym, and so it'll be like, as much as you may like. Edith Piaf, you don't want to be listening to that when you're on the treadmill at the gym. Like that's not running
I
music.
don't know. See, I think they're applying too much rationale and
But-
logic to music, and music is an
Well, no,
irrational.
and that's fine. And then
state
there's
of being.
the
I mean,
don't-
it's like
I-
very emotional, and
I agree with that,
I've
and I
listened
think
to
that
Edith Piaf at the gym. I'm just gonna say that
it's really weird. So for me, when I hear stuff like that with regards to like we're basing this around your lifestyle, it's like you're predictable. And this is what we're gonna.
Yeah, that's
like
what I don't
that.
like
And
about it.
I'm pretty. I don't know. I have some routines, but it makes me feel like a robot.
it does, and honestly, I've yet to find any of those things that actually really work.
Right, right. That's why I'm reticent with wearable stuff. Like when we talk
But
about this, and it's like it tracks your sleep, and I'm like, well, I can do that.
Well,
I'm
no,
okay.
but here's the thing, and as Terrence can confirm about that. I mean, they kind of track your sleep,
Kinda
but
track your
doesn't
sleep.
ever really
But it doesn't
work.
really
and
work,
you usually
right.
have to tell it when you
Yeah.
wake up, and nobody remembers.
Right.
Yeah. And if you don't, it still thinks you're sleeping.
Right.
Great.
Even if you're working and
That
making
sounds
coffee.
great.
Yeah, because when you're waking up, you're like, where did I
So
put that
the real
other
question
stuff?
that I have though about this is: A, is there a free streaming version with ads?
Nope.
No. So B, is there an amazing library that's better than the competition?
Nope.
So otherwise, other than me thinking Dr. Dre is super cool, which in fairness I do, I don't know what is this way less expensive than
Nope.
Spotify or Xbox
It's
$10
Music
a month,
or
the same price.
Beats, and it's by Dre.
I mean, and that's here's the thing is,
that is
They
the
have-
difference.
That's
well, the
that's-
difference
guess.
is they have brand recognition.
yeah.
You know,
Sure, they do have that.
There are no
They're-
Spotify headphones.
If I
They're
get a
on
phone
Spotify.
that has Beats by Dre stuff built in, do I have like an automatic subscription to this?
I don't.
That would be nice.
They'll probably start packing in at least trial subscriptions with those things. They'll probably start packing in trial subscriptions with the
Yeah.
headphones, which
I
sell.
was
like,
just gonna say,
and if they don't, they're stupid.
Right, that would be obvious. It
Um,
seems.
I mean, the thing is, their whole explanation when I talked to them was that yes, it's a very crowded marketplace. In that
good
there's-
drive down costs. That's what I want.
I wish they would drive down costs too, but that's not going to happen yet.
Not yet, but it
it's,
will.
They
eventually.
do admit that it's a crowded marketplace. You know, between Spotify, RDO, Google, whoever, there's so many options.
Sure.
Pandora.
But it's not a very big market. It's not a mass adoption thing yet. You know, Spotify and Google Play don't have the same reach as Netflix.
No,
No,
I
that
will
much
say
more.
Their whole thing is it's still in its infancy. We can broaden the market. We don't want to. They don't necessarily want to convert Spotify listeners.
Sure.
They want to get the people who haven't jumped on
but
the
you
bandwagon.
can't. But
yet.
you can't convert people that aren't adopting streaming right now to go directly to subscription based. That people have a knee jerk response to that. You hook them with free, and then you get them annoyed by ads, and they're
I
like,
agree.
I'll pay. I'm like,
That's what happened to me with Spotify.
all of my friends
And
have
maybe they
Spotify,
will
and
do
only
that.
2 of them aside from me pay for the premium. So
Am I one of those two?
I think so. Yeah.
Wow,
I
weird.
pay
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so here you go.
Well, I mean,
Two
I-
people know.
I actually pay for both Spotify and Google Play.
What the hell?
Okay, that is I'm not going to say what the kids say because I think it's dumb.
So I had
Cray,
Xbox
did it.
Music is the
I'll
only
be
option
honest,
I had.
might cancel my Spotify one soon.
Sure. So if anything,
Why?
I was
Oh,
actually
'cause
thinking
your
about
whole library's uploaded with Google Play Music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
don't
I was
have
thinking
to- I
about
don't have to
killing,
worry about what Spotify doesn't have.
I was thinking about killing my Spotify one for the Xbox Music because of Xbox One and it being like highly integrated there. But it just makes me mad that Spotify and all those other there's no other option. Like that's a huge problem. That
That
so
you can't get it on
this
like
is-
consoles.
This is
right?
one of the things actually that I was trying to ask you about Beats kind of is that none of these services are ubiquitous everywhere. Like Spotify is the closest it gets. Google
Yeah.
Play is sort of kind of
Getting
at least
there.
Android devices and stuff, and you can get it on iOS and whatever. But like, I want it to work on my TV. I want it to work on games consoles. I want it to be like Netflix ubiquitous. And when it is, I'm going with that service.
Yep.
Like that's the one I want.
Yep.
And so right now it's like
Well, you have
I
to
feel
wait
like
it
kind
out.
of I'm just
Wait and
trying out
see.
Spotify until something better comes along,
No,
which is
and I-
fine. But
And I'm with you on that. And I think that's, you know, that would be the thing for Beats to do if they want to. They need to invest heavily in making this a ubiquitous thing. That it needs to be on your Xbox, your PlayStation, your Roku, all of this stuff, and you need to have it accessible everywhere.
presumably it's already available
mean,
on
you-
iOS and Android.
Well,
You
Here's-
can get
here's where
Spotify
the
on
thing-
Roku. I will say that.
Yeah.
That is
Right,
available.
Here-
and some
here's-
Samsung TVs, like Spotify has
Sure.
gotten better, but it's
Right.
still nowhere near the ubiquity it needs to be.
And here's where I think Beats has probably made their biggest mistake, in that they've decided it's a mobile-first service.
Oh no, you need it on the
so,
desktop.
It's available on iOS and Android.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that even at this point, the app still has some serious bug issues.
Mm.
Okay.
Every so often, I unlock my phone, and apparently Beats has opened itself and logged me out.
Isn't that not just a weird Terrence phone thing?
That's-
You have a
it
weird
might be,
electronic
but,
situation.
I did. We had Billy also testing out the Beats thing, and he experienced a lot of issues with
Yeah.
it as well.
Right.
And he has a newer
Um,
phone that he was using it on. So
Yeah.
Hi, Billy. Hey, Billy.
Hey, Billy.
with an EH.
But they have a desktop, a web player, which is really scaled back from the mobile version.
Which seems like the
Oh, so
opposite approach you
They
take.
do have a desktop.
They do have a
version.
desktop. It's a web
Okay.
app,
Yeah.
but it's a really scaled back version. Like, not all of the features that are in the mobile version are available on the desktop.
But you see, that's weird reasoning to me because, or maybe I might just be skewed because I live in New York and I'm underground most of the time when I'm listening to music, right? So I need it to be offline.
You definitely have a different perspective.
But also, I feel like the majority of time that most adults are listening to music is when they're at work. and sitting in front of their computers, with their
At which
headphones
point
on.
I'm
Although,
not
in
using my
fairness,
phone.
Well, you're
I
not
think-
using your phone.
I think
Yeah.
at work, I know that at least this is the case for my fiance. Like, she can't use her computer use is super restricted, right? Like, her internet usage says you can go these places.
Well, she's a government
and that's
employee.
it. She's a
Exactly.
government employee, but a lot of jobs do that. Like, a lot of places say you can't go to Facebook, you can't use like streaming services because it sucks down bandwidth
Right.
and it makes the entire company move slower.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like,
They-
I mean, I think that a lot of people probably use their phones for streaming stuff at work. I would imagine.
That seems like such a bizarre thing, though.
It does seem a little weird, but like if it gets around, again, to bring up, like, Sarah has to use her phone to like look things up sometimes for presentations because like the
Can't
computer just
access
won't
stuff on the
let her
computer,
do it. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I think people use their phones in
Those are just
weird ways that they
draconian
have to because
governmental work.
yeah, the government work doesn't help, but yeah.
I mean, it was the same thing when I worked at a bank. It was, I did use my phone for a lot of things because you simply couldn't access it on the
Right.
computer.
No, they don't want you to use
Well-
it on those computers.
Right.
Well, I
also,
mean,
yeah.
To be fair, I was in IT. I could access those things,
Right.
but they kept a very good track of what you did when you went around
Sure.
the firewall.
That's another thing,
You
though.
had-
Exactly.
You had to, like,
also,
sign in and be like, "Why
a lot
are
of
you doing
companies-
this?" I'm like, "I'm doing it because I want to."
not a good
Videos are
reason.
fun.
Right.
Cat
So yeah, a
videos,
lot of companies
gotcha.
do that stuff though, where they either are blocking stuff or restricting it. So I don't know. I mean, I think the desktop app is great for us because we have like total internet freedom
Yeah.
at work, but a lot of people don't. I don't think, which is, yeah. I mean, I guess that makes a little more sense to me.
Yeah, but then if
A
you're
little
thinking
bit.
about it as well, you're also assuming that people have enough data and their monthly plans are wireless. I mean, assuming they're not going on the Wi-Fi, which they
we
can't
live in
go on the Wi-Fi
America,
if that
Joseph.
works.
I have internet until it's just unlimited.
Not everybody pays for the plans that you do. I mean, I'm
the right
lucky.
thing to
I
do.
have a
Grandfathered
grandfathered
in.
unlimited Verizon.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, me and Terrence will never pay to upgrade a phone on Verizon ever because they'll take it
know.
away from us.
Which is terrible, though.
It
I'm
is
stuck.
terrible.
Yeah, I'm stuck with AT&T for the same reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Unlimited forever.
So we're all lucky, but the
But
rest
AT&T
of the
will let you get an upgrade and use the subsidy, though, whereas Verizon will not.
right.
huh?
You can go upgrade your phone
Well, I've
and
done
keep
that,
your
yeah.
unlimited plan.
Right.
If we upgrade our phone,
They're
we
like,
lose it.
Yeah, they're
That's
like
really
bye
awful.
unlimited.
Oh man,
They
That's
technically
rough.
make you sign a new contract, so
Yeah.
I have to buy a new phone at full
Right,
price.
right.
At least you do have Verizon though. That's a pretty big bonus. I
Well,
have
lately it
AT&T.
hasn't been so great, but once they
Yeah,
flip on that AWS, we'll be
Well,
good.
which won't work for my phone.
Oh yeah, yours doesn't have the band for it.
Nerds, stop talking about Spectrum. Nerds.
Mobile nerds. That's the new theme song for the mobile podcast I just created.
Maybe
Like that.
people will be using their mobile devices to stream beats on their future giant Apple phones. That
Oh.
might happen. Maybe,
Ugh.
kind of, sort of.
I'm sorry.
I love
know
that you
I
had to write this because you hate it. and it makes me
This
the
is another thing that
happiest.
just makes me want to throw the microphone over
know.
and storm out
No,
of the
I
room.
want to flip the table. I want to like really embrace my.
So
like,
before we get
Sicilian
into your
roots.
rage, Apple might be maybe making bigger versions.
Right, well, that's
of
where our
their
rage.
phones.
That's what our rage is about, and the
Right.
rage is that like, look,
Second
I was
half.
I'm really. I
2014.
was against this because, look, the iPhone event the last one was in September. I was actually at
Yep.
Motorola's factory that day while it was going on, so it was kind of really funny to be
Yeah, good
sitting
for you.
there.
In
it was so
Texas,
much
right?
better. It was such a better. Oh, yeah, it was in Dallas
for the
Fort Worth.
Modoc thing.
For the nobody calls it that. Just
I'm
you.
talking about the mechanic organism designed only for killing. Are you talking about something else? Or are you talking about the Moto X?
Yeah.
Sorry, okay, it's totally different than Modoc.
Yeah, it's
Right.
It's different.
Excuse
it's
me.
like an X, and the other one's like a J, which is like further up in the alphabet.
So anyway,
So that last event was in September for the iPhone.
Yep.
And
the
it
iPhone
is
5S
as
and
far
the
as
5C.
I know, I just recovered from my New Year's Eve hangover like a few weeks ago at CES.
Few weeks,
Yeah, at CES.
days.
No, a few. How many weeks has it
It's
been?
been like a
since-
week and a half since we got back.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And it's a long hangover too.
It's a really long day, but you know,
It was not an immediate thing. It was not like take a couple of aspirin, have a Bloody Mary, and by noon you're good to go.
2 weeks ago, you were in Las Vegas being chapped.
no, I wasn't because I covered myself head to toe in lotions everywhere. I talked about that with,
Yeah.
funnily enough, Motorola PR. But the point is, so it's January right now, okay?
It is.
So many different things can change in the design process for these new iPhones.
Yep.
And yet here we are. And the rumor was already out for these 2 new screen sizes that are finally breaking out of that like super, oh, hey, my thumb covers the entire screen real estate.
What is it currently? 4 inches?
It's
4.3.
yeah.
I thought.
Well, the iPhone 5S.
Yeah.
Right. But
And the
before
5
that,
in general.
before that, it was just 4.
Even the 5? Even the 5?
No, 5 is
5S, I'm saying.
Right, I understand.
I don't
and the
remember-
5 is 4.32.
Was the 5S?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
because
the-
they're essentially identical
Right.
in that
Yeah.
sense.
The
yeah.
5 was the bigger sized version.
Right. And
the first
now,
one.
and, now the market's
Though they're
gone-
really just taller. That's
it is
sort
just
of the
taller.
important thing. It's not that much bigger of a screen. It's just
It
taller.
is just taller.
Otherwise, it's still
Right. You're still like,
Small
oh,
screen.
I just
your
covered
two
the whole
thumb-
screen.
Yeah, your two thumbs cover the entire width of the screen.
And like, look, Samsung and I think LG to an extent.
Is Apple going to become Samsung? Would that be not the most amazing thing in the
They-
world?
I mean, they
if
would-
they just had 47 iOS
I was about
devices.
to say there would have to be like 50 all at once, and they'd have to have like insanely convoluted names.
Yes.
I'm surprised that you guys bag on. I mean, Samsung does a terrible job with this, where they have like a trillion, like the Mini and the whatever
Yeah.
different trillion.
I
Different
know you're
going to
talk about Nokia and Lumia.
It's always,
But that's
it's always
already-
Lumia for
the,
me.
the reason
Too
why it
confusing.
doesn't the reason why it doesn't upset me though is because like that's effectively over. Like they've committed publicly to saying we will no longer do like
Yeah,
here's
we're
the
still
new Nokia-
reviewing them. They still exist. They're still coming out.
Yeah, but those are the last batch of like
And there's also
Nokia
a
as a
lot
standalone
less of
company.
them, though. That's the thing
Right.
is Nokia's naming convention is certainly worse than Samsung's.
Unbelievably
Because
worse.
no numbers mean nothing.
Nothing.
The,
Zero
the
things.
Lumia 1350.
Oh my
nobody
goodness.
can tell you how.
I
That's
would-
You
any
could just make
different.
one up right now.
I was
don't
trying.
even know if it
I was
exists
trying
or
to
not.
talk to Brad about that, about some phone, and I was like, no, it's the Lumia 17, 9, and he was like, no, you mean the 13, and I was like, no, isn't it the 1025? And I was like, you know what? I have no idea which one. And there's like a Verizon Lumia 929 that could possibly be coming out because they had the 928. It's just so random.
So the Samsung
arbitrary.
naming convention is certainly better.
Yes, it uses
But
words.
It uses words, and they do indicate something about the device,
Right.
Right.
even if they're not super helpful. Like the
Right.
Samsung
Note
Galaxy Note
10.1, 10.1
yeah, like,
inches.
You know what the size is. You know that you're
12.2,
getting a
Right.
stylus.
It
12.2
says
inches.
something.
But there's so many more of them. There's
Yes.
only like 5 Nokias on the market at
Right.
any given point, like in the Lumia series.
Could have fooled me. I don't know. I have no idea.
The
It seems like there's
Galaxy
1,000.
line, the Galaxy line there, I think
There,
there are.
it is, but
1,000.
I mean, but it stays true to its family name. There's a virtual galaxy of those products.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god, guys are really funny.
That's the worst. I actually want to kill myself. So yeah, I don't think that we're gonna see 1 trillion iPhones though, right? I think we'll probably see like this. This
No, I
sounds
think
like
they'll always
iPhone
restrict
6
their-
and 6C
their
or
output,
whatever
right.
to be like newer screens,
But
bigger screens.
Apart from the screen part of the rumor, which I do not doubt for a second that Apple's considering
Right.
larger screens. That's the way the market's trending. What's more interesting to me is the fact that they could possibly veer away from the polycarbonate casing of the 5C, which is plastic, and
Yeah.
colorful,
Yeah.
and
Which I
say
actually
let's
like.
just go for metal casings like the 5S is right now. That's more interesting to me that they would veer away from that.
It seems like that wasn't meant as a cost-saving measure so much as a means of targeting a different market.
Right.
And for them to drop that seems weird. Like,
I
I
agree.
think that is neat. I honestly think it's like, I probably wouldn't get a 5C myself, but like, that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
I like that they came out with a bunch of different colors.
Listen,
like, it
I
looks
loved
unique.
I have a Blueberry iMac from back in the day. I loved that thing.
That is insane that
You never saw
exists.
those?
No.
Oh my goodness! When the
How many iMacs do you have in your house?
No. This is like from the early 2000s. It was like when they were like that all encased bubble design.
Yeah.
Like when
see
the-
through with the color.
Not the
With
first
the handle on it?
ones
No.
post jobs, but
Right.
like the second gen or
Right.
whatever.
Really pretty.
Okay.
Blueberry is the one I had.
Man. Oh, blue. I'm thinking
You couldn't eat it, Ben.
Burberry.
Oh my goodness.
That's why I was
Burberry-
like, that's
That would
crazy.
be-
What must be an unbelievably expensive computer you
That would
have?
be so distracting because I would never look at the screen. I'd be like, I love that print.
That plaid is so lovely.
It's so nice. So soothing.
Man.
So expensive.
Yeah,
Now I
that's,
want
and
one.
with
I
you,
know,
you
right?
the
Let's
connections
do
in
it.
my brain. I'm
Somebody-
like, well,
somebody
Joseph,
make us a
Burberry computer.
iMac.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Apple, if you want us to like do like a visualize or hands on with that, you can send it to Terrence and Joseph
Yeah.
Volpe.
So we won't see whatever that is until like September, whenever
Right, and
Apple
so that's
unveils
why-
their new
Honestly, I
phone.
kind of doubt both of those
I-
things.
They
I
could
won't
all
lie.
change, right? That's the
They
other
could
thing.
all change, and
Exactly.
honestly, neither one of them makes any sense.
Right.
Right. I think the only reason we give any validity to this is because
Is
Wall
it-
Street Journal puts it out there,
Right.
and we
Yeah.
trust them. I mean, because it's the Wall Street Journal, and
If they're wrong, though, I'm never trusting them ever again, and they're
Ever.
going to burn their
I'm
offices.
gonna actually
Ever,
set our
ever.
website on fire. We're all gonna lie in it because we feel so bad
Yeah.
about misleading you.
I'll probably listen
sorry,
to a Kelly
readers.
Clarkson album
So
from
sorry.
the bathtub
Ugh.
and drown a
Ugh.
copy,
I
a
hope that
physical
they
print copy of the Wall Street Journal in the tub with
I wish I could just convey my look of derision when you talk about Kelly Clarkson over an audio podcast. It's not possible.
I don't know. I feel
unfortunate.
like you're fronting. I read that in Urban
what
Dictionary
you need to do is
too.
you need to convert that stare into an exasperated sigh. You need to.
Yeah.
Can you collect
Yeah.
that breath for me?
Ooh.
What?
Gosh.
I jar other people's tears. It's not that weird.
Anyway,
okay?
in visual
Vi- vi-
awful derision, Facebook trolled Princeton
I have
this
to
week,
say,
which
I
was
find,
amazing.
I
love
yes,
this.
that side is the
love
best.
This.
No. I found
I
it.
think it's delightful.
I couldn't have been less interested in that story.
Well, because it was a
care.
nonsense grab by Princeton, putting out a kind of faulty piece of.
Well, how about you encapsulate really quick for people listening?
Okay, well, so Princeton put out a study saying that Facebook would be dead by 2017, basically, that they would be out of users.
They would run out of
users.
users. The key is running out of people to consume the
Right,
service.
and so Facebook essentially fired back using the way that they calculated the stat for Facebook to say a bunch of nasty things about Princeton.
Well,
like
they
would
said
run
that
out
they
of
would
students.
run out of students.
Right.
And we would run out of air. At a certain
run out of
point
air.
in 2020 something.
Right. And so I was just kind of amazed that Facebook was like even bothered acknowledging it, nonetheless went out of their way to be shitty about it.
I mean, I bet it was
That's
like
kind of
one.
wonderful,
It was one dork
actually.
engineer that sat down and was like, "Guys,
That's
gonna
great.
crunch some numbers and we're gonna
it great?
Yes!
yeah."
That's fantastic.
I'm sorry, not all nerds sound like that. Some of them sound really cool.
A lot of them sound like you or me. Or
I
Terrence,
don't
'cause you're a bunch of
identify as a
nerds.
nerd. I do not. I do not.
I know you don't have to self-identify that
I'm not
way.
even a
Everybody else identifies you that
snowflake,
way. It's
okay?
fine.
Yeah,
it's cool.
we all know.
I know everyone knows.
You spent like most of the last week building out a high-powered GameCube emulator in your house.
I did.
So I think that says a lot about where your interests lie.
I know. And when I sent Matt Smith the email, which I forwarded to with the instructions, I signed it yours in covert nerddom.
Yep.
Joseph.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not very covert. Though.
No, it's pretty
Well,
pronounced.
I think it is.
It's what I would call
though.
pronounced nerddom.
All right.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty wonderful. I'm surprised both of you were not excited by this because it was just like it's
Oh,
just like
no.
they could have not acknowledged it at all and walked
And they
away, but
probably
instead they
shouldn't
decided
have.
to be nasty,
I'm not
which
excited
is wonderful.
by here. There are two topics I don't care about: Princeton and
Oh.
Facebook.
Oh, yeah, you don't
not
have a
that I don't
Facebook
care
account,
about
huh?
either of
I've
those
never
things.
had a Facebook account. People, never, not once.
I just,
Showing the world one Facebook account at a time.
I just don't care when companies like get catty with each other.
This isn't catty; it's like playful,
It's not playful. It's kind of catty.
Yeah,
and they're
it
not
is.
competing. Like Princeton isn't competing with
No,
Facebook.
and that's-
so
No, they're
They're
like
doing it to be
no,
like,
but
eh.
they're both acting like housewives, okay,
Yeah.
in New Jersey.
Like I have no
Because
interest in
Princeton's
that.
in
I'm like
the
whatever.
fake housewives of New Jersey,
They're very
because
real.
they're not real, obviously.
Very
Yeah.
real. They're very real.
I have no interest in it. It's just like it's a giant university and a giant social networking company acting like children.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you
And
this.
I mean, to be fair, it's not that we haven't seen such behavior from Facebook and some of Facebook's leaders like that before, but
What are you alluding
You know
to?
what would have been
Terrence?
funnier?
I don't know what you're alluding
What would
to.
have been funnier is Facebook had been like, we're going to do a calculation on the amount of time it's going to take for Princeton to run out of talented candidates that we could possibly hire.
That would
at
be nasty.
Facebook.
That would be actually
That's
nasty.
what I would have done
That's
if
like
I were
cutting.
at Facebook.
That's different.
So
this
what?
is goofy.
You know what? I like everything tinged with Cruella DeVille.
Yeah,
That's
there's
how I
definitely
like
a little
things,
bit-
okay?
there's more
I
than
want
a
to wear
tinge.
a Dalmatian puppy coat, and I want to send out some hard hitting data. And when I mean hard hitting, I mean like beats in your face.
So
Terrence is just
Terrence
looking at me.
unimpressed with with Facebook's response to Princeton.
But-
what about the Pope blessing the internet?
I believe you mean the Pope elope.
the Pope-elope.
You're not reading it as I wrote it. There's a
Flotsam,
script.
Jetsam,
Good
Facebook,
reason.
and the Pope-elope.
Flotsam, Jetsam, Facebook, and the
You're just
Pope-elope.
adapting my dope-elope.
I did. No, I know.
That's what you're
Or
doing.
for Chocolope too.
I like chocolate.
Yeah, that's why I was like Pope. It rhymes.
So anyway, Terrence, how do you feel about the Pope blessing the internet?
Just
do you
so
feel
happy
like the
this-
internet is a better place now for that having happened?
Can we
I
coordinate
mean,
a sigh?
I feel like I'm living in a gift from God now.
Well,
You
you're
kind
sitting.
of- you
you're
live on the
sitting.
internet?
You're
Yes.
sitting next to a gift from God.
Oh.
I am here. And you can see
So humble.
me.
I love that.
I'm
That's my
not-
favorite thing
nope,
about you is
nope,
when you wash
no
my feet.
modesty.
I mean, it's the first time that really a pope has ever really kind of directly addressed the usefulness of the internet,
Yeah.
as opposed to just kind of be like, it's a thing.
I really don't like that we think of him as the modern Pope, though. He's like the kicking and screaming, acknowledging the modern world Pope.
I mean, he's not being dragged into it. Nobody's
no.
pushing him. He seems to be
No, but
embracing it
He's
with
actually
open arms.
kicking and dragging the rest of the Catholic Church.
No, he's
with
not.
him.
There are things
Seems
he could
like it.
kick. There are things that he could kick and drag them into accepting, but we can't get into that on this podcast alone.
No, this
I
is a
too-
technology
Yeah.
This is about
podcast.
technology.
We can
know.
talk. We can talk Catholicism after the podcast if you really want.
That'll be on
I'll
our
lay out my
Catholicism
tarot
Today
cards and-
podcast.
and a
It's
protective
coming up right
circle
after
of
this,
salt.
actually.
Right? So what's coming up
The
right after this?
gadget-
The Catholicism Today podcast.
Oh, okay.
That runs at 1 p.m.
And
Eastern.
that's just me talking about being raised Catholic.
Bizarrely also runs on Engadget.
I just
Being
want
taught
everyone
by
to know
nuns.
that Terrence and I were both raised Catholic. I was also a certified catechist. So when I
so
say
maybe you have
Pope-elope,
personal feelings about this?
It's not. I don't know It's so
I mean, I kinda
personal. It
I mean,
is.
I
would love
It's
to hear them.
incredibly personal.
You've got 4 minutes in which to tell me them.
I mean,
Can you do it in song?
No, I can't do
Well,
it in song.
then I don't care.
I mean, I'll put it out there. I am not a practicing Catholic anymore. I was raised Catholic, but I do like this Pope quite a bit. It's the first time in a while that it seems like the Pope has been a human being, because the previous one certainly
Cool
was
it,
not.
cool it.
I like-
cool it,
I like that
cool
he's
it.
very-
Nobody's trying to be offended.
I like that he's very excited that the internet can bring people together. My
No,
first
but-
thought was Tinder, Grindr.
Well, no,
You
but
know,
I mean,
that
he's,
brings
he's
people
talking
together.
About,
Oh,
he's talking
yes.
about how you can bridge cultural divides, how the internet makes the world a smaller place. It connects us as human beings and unites us, and that's a great message. And the
Sure.
internet is actually good for those things.
right.
Oh yeah.
It is.
I mean, look at the
However-
Arab Spring. Look
I
at
was gonna
lots
say.
of things that the internet
Oh,
has
it's
done
so
that are bigger
positive.
and more important than
I love the internet.
It's not about.
Especially when they dox people. I love how it brings people
the internet is
together.
also a terrible place.
Oh,
Just
God.
like
And
humanity.
innocent
Human
people
beings are
can get
great. Human beings are
destroyed,
terrible.
And he addresses
and-
that, and he talks about how while it does have potential.
Do you think
for
he knows what doxing is? Do you think he knows? What's
He's
his
pro-
name? His name is Frankie, Pope Frankolis.
Yeah,
Yes, that's it.
Pope Frankie.
Pro Frankolis. I think that's it. Pretty sure that was it.
I give up.
I don't want to discuss this seriously because I think it's asinine.
Do you?
I think
don't
it's
know.
asinine. I don't care what he thinks about the internet and if he thinks it's a positive
But
thing.
that's
You know
you.
what's great too? The sun.
Sun is a
The
positive
sun
thing.
is a positive thing.
So the
sun
good
can
news
be a
is-
negative.
Expands and envelops the earth
Right,
in a
and then
fiery
it can
ball
be a
of death.
negative
The
thing.
good news
it's
is
very
that
profound.
on my space blog right now, I'm writing a post about how Joseph Volpe approves the sun. So it's going to be perfect.
Wait, you have a
This works
MySpace
over-
blog? What? I heard what you said.
I appreciate your word plays on
I'm
MySpace.
Kind of like Liz
and
Fair, but
space.
with my mouth and a podcast about technology.
There are like 7 34-year-olds who understand your Liz Fair reference listening
You
to
know,
this
that's
right
good.
now.
Last night,
Everybody else
I
is
watched
confused.
my latest episode of American Horror Story, Coven, and there was the best line ever, which was, "You're just like Halston when he sold his brand to J.C. Penney. You've forsaken your destiny." I let out a hearty cackle, and then I immediately realized that I was probably one of a very small percentage
Incredibly
of people that
small.
got that.
There's some writer who is so pumped that he
Oh
got
my
that
God,
into the show.
I hope he's a tech nerd and heard that because I watched Ultra Suede and
I
Search
feel
for
like you
Halston. It's on
told me
Netflix.
about
I
Halston.
did. You should watch that.
Yeah.
You should watch
Yeah.
that. It's interesting. But anyway, that's how I feel about your space blog.
Okay. Fantastic. I think we're out of time for this week's episode of the show.
Oh, are you
Certainly
sure?
getting there, yeah. We have 2 minutes
No.
left.
No, we're pretty much out, actually.
Yeah, I was
Oh.
going to say.
We're-
So,
Lord.
and that's a good thing because we got through all of our topics, but we'll be switching things up as the show goes on. This
Yeah.
is kind of a test run at things and seeing how things go from here on out.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
there'll
this
be a
is gonna
different
be
host.
this is gonna be a tapping platform, and I'm gonna put tap shoes on it, not with my feet, but in my hands.
Next,
So let us know if you want to see Joseph tapping.
yeah.
With my hands. With
If
my
you
hands.
want
With
us
his
to put
hands.
a bag over his head for the next week,
We can do that.
I could do that only
can work
if
that
you
out.
design the front of the bag to different faces. Listen, you can put a bag on my face. I'm not gonna say no. Just buy me dinner afterwards, Terrence. You never do.
not
So
before.
thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, Terrence O'Brien. Thank you, Joseph Volpe.
Planet Hillary hashtag.
You can find
hashtag.
both of these gentlemen on Twitter. Terrence's is at Terrence O'Brien, one word. at JR Volpe for
Yes,
Joseph
and
Volpe.
means fox, and
I
I'm not
am-
related to Michael J.
I am at real Ben Gilbert because some punk is still squatting on at Ben Gilbert.
He is cyber squatting.
He's a
It
real
is not
monster.
we're gonna
okay.
find him.
And you can get at us at Engadget. That's also the official Engadget Twitter account. And
At
we'll be back here next week.
Engadget.
Very excitingly, the Engadget podcast was brought to you today by Verizon's Powerful Answers, Joseph's favorite service, because the world's biggest challenges deserve even bigger solutions.
You know what, everyone? If you're still listening and you haven't run away, I want you to tweet at us with your questions for Verizon and to seek out their powerful.
We need to get
answers.
those
And
powerful
we'll
answers
ask them,
back.
We'll ask them live on air. We will ask those questions. We will find out
We need to get to the bottom.
if you can eat Cocoa Puffs like Big Mac, astronaut ice cream, space
Right.
food, and if it tastes the same
So-
as a Big Mac in
So
China.
thank you
I'm
very
gonna
much,
keep going.
everybody,
No.
for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Goodbye, Internet.
Ya matane.